Whether we live or die may depend on what happens here.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. My name is Gareth, this is Books, Songs and Other Magic, and I'm doing a book review today. A book review of a book that I feel like I'm a little bit late to the party on. So it's Andy Weir's book, Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Obviously very famous for The Martian and Artemis as well. I've read both of those, so this is the third one that he brought out, and I really like the first two. I even like Artemis, which is kind of controversial, but it could be the male lens didn't see the stuff that people picked up on, maybe. The Martian, I think, is an amazing book. I absolutely love it. So I was very keen to read it, but I didn't get round to it for quite a while. So this came out in 1920. Oh my God. This book came out in 2021. So that's not that long ago, but I feel like because as soon as it came out, it blew up in popularity and everyone was raving about it. Loads of people were saying it was their favourite science fiction book they'd ever read. And there was this incredible buzz around it. And the people that had read The Martian were often saying, I often kept hearing that it was better than The Martian. So that's a big statement. And basically, this was like the book that you needed to read. And it did take me a while. I've actually had this about a year and a half probably. I've owned this now, and I bought it thinking I need to read this. You know, I need to actually sort myself out and go and read it. And I decided to take it to New Orleans with me, and I thought this is the time I'm going to take it. You know, like we go on holiday, take a few books with me. I'll take Project Hail Mary and let's get that underway and get that under my belt, and I'm sure I'll love it. It would be a great idea. Brilliant. It wasn't a great idea because New Orleans is the kind of place that for me, I found it quite hard to read because it's such a lively atmosphere outside. You just want to keep going outside and enjoying the live music out in the streets and that, and in the pubs. So I didn't feel like I could kind of concentrate on the reading. And when I was reading, like, after I'd done all that and I settled back into the hotel, it just wasn't going in. I read about 50 pages and I was like, God, I'm really not enjoying this. I'm not really grabbing onto it. It's not really working. And I felt like it was my fault because I liked the other two books. I could see a plot developing and for some reason I wasn't connecting and I thought it was me. So I thought, well, I'm going to put it down. I'm not going to read any more of this on the holiday, and I'll pick it up another time. So fast forward about a year later, and there's a project going on BookTube, and there's 4 people that are reading this as a group read, and I see this announced. I think Lecton announces it just in passing, really. He doesn't make a big deal about it. He's just saying, oh, we're doing this, and I was like, oh, this is my chance to give it another go. And the group that's reading this with Lecton and Pat, so this is Book Chat with Pat. It's Lecton from Reading from the Depths. It's Mary Andrea from Books and Bocadillos, and Alan's Reads. So it's those 4 and me now. And they welcomed me into the group. They'd already started it, so I was a little bit behind, but I caught up. And we had a really interesting discussion on Voxer while we were reading it, which was really good. We were kind of taking it 10 chapters every week. And we kind of discussed quite a lot about the book, but I wanted to just give you my own perspective. They're all going to talk about the book on their channels. I think I liked it more than the others, but everyone did like it. So everyone enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed it. And I want to talk about a few different things about it without spoiling the surprises in the book, because there's quite a lot of surprises in it. So as you can see, it's well, I don't know if you can see, but I think you can kind of guess there's an astronaut there on the cover. It's a science fiction story just like the other two Andy Weir novels, and a guy called Ryland Grace wakes up on a spaceship and he doesn't know why he's there, doesn't know his name, doesn't have any recollection of his memories, and he's got to figure out why he's there, who he is, and consequently what his mission is. And his memory comes back to him through flashbacks that the reader discovers as the book progresses. So it's a kind of a quite common device, I'd say now. I see it quite a lot, where you've got two different timelines that are referring back to each other and influencing each other as far as the reader's knowledge of what's happening. And what's different about this is that because he doesn't remember anything, the flashbacks are what he's remembering. So it builds as it goes along so that he's got full awareness of what he's supposed to be doing about half of the way through the book, really. But at the beginning, he doesn't know who he is and what he's there for and all that kind of thing. And that's a really cool part of the book. There are lots of really, really good elements to the book, but that is one of the really good elements to the book. And he's a bit of an unlikely hero. He doesn't understand why, as he starts remembering, he's thinking, why am I on this spaceship when I'm just a school teacher who wrote some paper about alien life? And that's his only kind of connection to sort of this sort of setup. But he's a school teacher. And there are reasons why he ends up on the mission. And that kind of, again, gets developed through the flashbacks and is done really well. Because you're thinking, yeah, why is he on this mission? And then obviously it gets explained as you go along. And without spoiling anything, there are a couple of moments where the plot shifts quite a lot. There's one really big moment fairly early on, but I still feel like it's late enough and surprising enough not to want to spoil it. But there's a big change in it that you're not expecting that becomes the heart of the book. So something happens in the book that takes over the whole nature of the book. And this new aspect of the book, this new outlook for Ryle and Grace, the new tone of the book for the reader is the best part of the book, I think. It's to do with another character. I won't say whether it's the flashback or the present day, but there's another character in it that their relationship is the heart of the book. And that's done really well, like really, really well. And that is the best thing about the book. Ryle and Grace as a character is funny. He's extremely intelligent. And one of the things you could fault the book for is that Andy Weir keeps putting these lone characters in their stories, which means that they have to be able to do everything. If he had 2 or 3 characters doing this mission, then it could be that Ryle and Grace can't do everything and someone else has to step up to the plate, and the 3 of them, if it was 3 characters, for example, the 3 of them would solve it through their own specialities or whatever. But Andy Weir keeps doing this thing where his main characters are really, really uncommonly clever. So, yeah, you buy into it. It doesn't really spoil the book, but I think it's just something you notice about Andy Weir. And also he just keeps doing these books about these one-man missions, you know, and Artemis obviously is a woman, but you know what I mean? That sort of one-person mission. And I'd just be interested to know if like, I don't know, next book or a couple of books down the line, he writes an ensemble cast and manages to juggle those characters really well. It'd be interesting if that becomes another thing that he can do, because he's definitely very good at writing this kind of thing, definitely. And it works really well, but it's definitely seems to be a bit of a habit for him. So yeah, I'd be interested to know if he can break out of that. But anyway, he does have this relationship in the book that's really, really, really important. And it brings out humor, it develops the plot, it makes some things able to happen. So some of the plot wouldn't happen without this other character being involved in the plot. And it allows for a really interesting book. So I've just tried to do that without spoiling it. But there's another couple of moments in the book besides this big moment when this other character is introduced. There are other moments in the book where it takes a sidestep that you're not expecting. and the ending is brilliant. The ending is so unexpected, I think, because you kind of have a feeling that you know what's going to happen, partly because of just conventions. You just feel like he's going to give you a happy ending, and it's just going to work out okay. And it's, anything. Also, the way he's writing Ryland Grace, as well as being this sort of really, really clever man, the obstacles seems to be things he can't plan, but he solves them quite quickly. So you do get a sense there's going to be a happy ending, but what happens is very different to what you expect, and it's very creative. It's very clever. It's a really lovely ending. So again, the ending is probably one of the best things about the book as well. So I'd say this core relationship at the heart of the book is the best thing about the book, which takes up a big chunk of the middle. But I think the end is really good as well. And there's a couple of twists before you get to the final part of the book as well that work really well. So I think the storytelling is really good. I think you've got to give the book and Andy Weir the benefit of the doubt on how clever Ryland Grace is, and the fact that this man's doing it all by himself. And also in some ways, because what he's doing is he's on this mission to save the Earth, because the sun is being eaten up by this thing called astrophage, and he's gone out to investigate another sun that's not being affected by astrophage. And because back on Earth in these flashbacks, the situation is so serious that all of the governments in the world are all working together, and there's this one character that seems to be all powerful, because no one will stop her doing what she's doing because she's saving the world. And some of those aspects were a little bit convenient. I think it's more likely that all the different governments wouldn't get on, even if it was incredibly serious and it was like extinction level serious. I still think governments wouldn't get on. They'd be trying to one up each other and all that kind of thing. So I think that was a very optimistic approach to that situation. But again, it doesn't spoil the book. It's got a very positive attitude for the whole book, really. There's definitely a positive spin on that kind of thing, and clearly a very positive spin on politics. So I do think that's an aspect you could criticize, but it also kind of works. But like I said, because there's this core relationship at the heart of the book, I actually think it's quite a small story, but with this huge canvas. So it's like, this is a book about the end of the world. This is a book about extinction level seriousness. He's gone off to find some answers as to why our sun is being destroyed, and therefore life on Earth is at risk. And it's like really dire. It's really, they are up against an incredibly tight timeline. And it's also a suicide mission. So all these things are really intensely serious. He is gone on this mission aware that he can't go home. So that's really like intensely serious, but it's got this sort of positive aspect to it. There is also this huge element of scientific fact and scientific hypotheses through the book as well. So some people, if they don't really like that kind of scientific content, might get a little bit bogged down by that. They might think, oh, there's too much science in it. Because Andy Weir definitely does his research, and he definitely wants you to believe the science. So there is a lot of passages where he's just working out the maths of something. He's working out how the physics work, and it's really, really scientific. So, so you might think this is just some sort of fluffy airport book because it was so popular, but there is a lot of science in it. It is a hard science fiction book, hard science fiction, a lot of science, soft science fiction, more social science, and not so much physics and that. This is definitely a lot of physics. So be warned if you think that would put you off. But I think the way that it works, if you're not quite sure about what he's talking about, it's the way he writes. He kind of explains it anyway, and he helps you sort of run along with the science, even if you're not particularly scientific or you don't know exactly what he's saying. And I think that's a gift that he's got to be able to do that, because he's clearly writing a book that is steeped in science as far as how Ryland Grace is dealing with it. and he has to figure out what this astrophage is doing. And there's other things that ends up being a part of that, because there's another chemical that he discovers, and he's got to work out how to save the Earth from what he's finding, and what it really means for what his situation is. And there's other things that happen that he has to deal with, other accidents and, things that kind of setbacks that he has to deal with. So yeah, I thought it was a really entertaining book. It was, kept you guessing. It was very thrilling. The tension was there. I think you do have to give it the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And I think it's a good addition to his catalogue. And I do personally think The Martian's better, but I do think this is really good. So yeah, I'm really pleased I finally read it. And it was really nice reading it with a group of other people. And they came up with some things I hadn't thought about with the book. And also kind of reinforced some of the things that I thought about, in a positive way as well, with the book. Because I do think it's really good. And I definitely recommend it. And if you like science fiction, definitely read it. If you like science fiction to be kind of fun and epic, but not so epic that you've got to try and remember everything that's just been put into the world building, then you'll enjoy this. And I think I've managed to say what I needed to say without spoiling the big spoilers, which is quite cool. I'm quite pleased with myself. So anyway, yeah, I would recommend this. It's very, very good. Thank you for watching, everybody. Stay curious.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to